hold you up for that by any means.
Okay. Well, you guys, if you got the letter, you probably already know that we've got meets scheduled, home meets scheduled on the evenings. So
When did you send the letter?
an email.
Just in the last hour or so?
Yeah. No, this is before I went to my dad's burial, back in March, so, around, what was it, the 5th?
I remember the lead, I've only gotten 2 from you this year. One today and then one maybe a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then you got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
With the league I have.
Yeah, we're talking about the same one. Okay.
So, yeah, that's right. Just telling everybody what's going to happen. So, June 4th, 7th, and 11th, and the times are no different than last year. So, as far as lighting and all that, we got to be.
We're only having 3 meets?
3 home meets. Those
are the home 4, 7.
Yeah, those are the ones I thought you guys wanted to know.
Okay.
So, that's one more than we had last. Well, last year we gave one up because we kind of said, you know, we haven't done this in this pool for a while. Somebody else can take it out. It was like too quick or something like that, and that was. I can't remember which neighborhood hosted us instead of doing it out of place. So this year we're back to the 3.
Okay.
I need to fire up the registration, and I need to ask you a question about whether everything's the same as far as paying the pool fees.
We do all the same.
Okay, so it's all live, so I just go with that and direct people.
Yeah, that's live, and I mean, actually last year we didn't even have any of those exceptions.
Okay.
Required whatever it was, and it was just like we you know, at the end of the registration we settled up, and it was just future money. So.
Okay. But the fees are all the same. You guys.
Well, we are increasing the pool fee for like Thornwood residents from 70 to 80. So we're going up $10.
Okay, what's
right,
that?
but the $26 fee for your thing, we can keep that the same.
I don't, unless the league says to increase it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
did we put that on Amazon? Did we have a button for Amazon?
we don't have it on Amazon. Actually, I had to refund somebody because somebody pressed the button for 2011. Was still up there, so I removed the buttons until we're ready to start registration for a membership product.
Very cool.
All right. Other than that, I don't expect any extraordinary, you know, issues, costs, or you know, as far as the pool and that, you guys did a bunch of stuff last year that should carry over. I think we did still have some plumbing issues over there. I don't know if you guys got done. It's all fixed.
Oh, dude, you should see it.
Okay.
Go even in here. Take a look. New faucets. We have a urinal. We have a shower outside.
Okay.
We have a water fountain that works at the other pool now.
Great.
Yeah.
There was an issue.
Well, the other one worked, just not as much.
No, it didn't. It was totally busted.
Oh, they did break it. Yeah, I forgot about that because Mike did fix it and it worked.
There was an issue, and I can't remember if it was before or after the electrical work, but there was, I think Jacob went over to turn those lights on in that south pole and felt some bolts.
We fixed that.
Okay.
We saw that one night.
Okay.
And we fixed that.
Well, we didn't get a jolt. We just saw it.
It was late at night. It was like
They saw Jacob walking around
bright orange light around
there.
there. Okay. So we got that, but all the toilets have been replaced, so you know, stopped up toilets should not be an issue. I mean, we bought the biggest, fastest, best toilet we can possibly get to flush all that shit down there. Literally.
Again with the recording.
No, that's okay. Because, well, first of all, the meeting hasn't been called to order, but
Use your proper usage.
yeah, it was the proper usage. You know, it was non-expletive in that case.
So the only thing that we still have to do pool-wise over there is I gotta get the drains are clogged with dirt. The drainage drains from the decking. There's water standing on the decking. I noticed that in the rainstorm the other day, so we'll have to get that taken care of, which won't be a problem.
We had clarity issues last year, but that was just the pump.
That was just sample pump and all that stuff, so that's taken care of. We shouldn't have anything there. There's one other thing. And we will have an additional patio furniture, pool furniture available. Don't know what it's going to be yet, but we're coming up on that deadline. And my co-executive committee member, who's currently pregnant, might be dropping off right
Oh, yeah, she said, by the way, she got the brochure yesterday, there's no prices listed in the brochure, so she was just gonna pick out some stuff and then we asked for the price. She said you found some stuff from Lowe's, and
now. I just saw something come across my email from Home Depot, just, I mean, it's,
she thought she was going, like, those aren't high quality enough, if they want high quality, then you.
no, I mean, that, I mean, it was just a starting point.
Basically, she said if those are fine, then we can just get those. Okay.
That's
But
why
she
I
got the
didn't
brochure
look at
yesterday,
it,
so.
The only other, well, yeah, the only other thing that, I was thinking action items, we talked before about that kind of that muddy area on the north side of the pump room. And potentially, we talked concrete, but then you reminded me there's lots of plumbing going under there. And, the thought of a gravel pad maybe to put that storage room, that storage, thing, which is, we actually looked, maybe we can get a little bigger one, maybe.
You wanna move it?
Yeah, I was thinking about moving it over there,
It's easy.
but it's muddy there, we'd have to put a gravel path, that's like a low priority. It's working where it's at now, but the ants always seem to get into it over there. But,
If we move it, I mean, we can just buy some papers and sell them papers.
well, that's an idea.
Papers are, yeah.
That's a good idea, actually.
Okay, so,
Yeah, well, let me just take care of that then, if we're gonna move it. Okay, I was thinking gravel pad, but the pavers is a good idea. Let's see, what else? Anything else?
what do you think we wanna start up?
Well, I would have already by now if I hadn't been away. I guess, stuff.
No, it's swim practice.
Oh, weren't we like May?
It was that kind of like that first Monday in the middle of May?
Yeah, and I'm jostling with the coach a little bit on the timing of that, but it's going to be in that first week.
Is that your coach?
Her daughter can't do it this year, so she's gonna come in probably with her son for that period where we can't get college kids. And then in the back half, probably Cameron, my son Cameron, is probably gonna do it.
The girls will hate that.
With her assisting, like she assisted her daughter last
Right.
year. The thought being, her daughter had a school thing, and the thought being, this might oscillate, it might end up oscillating between her and Cameron for the next few years. So, she was gonna stay on because she felt committed to it and whatever, so, that's who's gonna do it.
Cool. Alright. Well, you've got everything rolling, so this is my suggestion, is, start I saw that, obviously, the team director thing, just start blasting out the people, like, hey, swim team's on, ready to roll, we're moving forward. Just, even if there's no detail of that, to say, we're moving forward with it, because I think there's a lot of people who think we're not having a swim team, and that's kind of like, that was kind of my message to you Friday.
Well, if that email, if they got that email, they know better, but it could be new people that don't know, so.
I think some people got it, but because all the other neighborhoods have started their registration, they started getting things going around us, and so I think that's probably what's giving them
People
the
are thinking
level
they
of
need to jump on
uncertainty.
something.
Yeah, traditionally, we had 2 weekends in April, so just the fact that we have it online is way beyond what we used to do. And our league that we're in doesn't usually start until May 1st, or till April 1st, so.
Okay.
Traditionally.
I don't think.
That said, if my dad hadn't been died and needed to be buried in
No.
Washington, it would have been up 2 weeks ago, so.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that, but-
Did you say we have a button, or we will have a button online
A button?
to pay for the swim registration?
No, he has the button for paying.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's got his own website and everything, but if you wanna give me like just a generic, email to promote it to the
Yeah,
rest of the
I will.
board that's not on your list, and how to like get information and
Yeah.
sign up for the emails and
Yeah,
stuff.
we did that last year.
Yeah, and then that gets blasted out to,
Actually, there's a flyer we used to put in the mailboxes, and maybe the PDF of that flyer would be good to go.
yeah, we can do that.
Because I think what we asked last
But
year
just send me
was
something and I'll blast it
whoever
out.
gets that, print it and put it in their neighbor's mailbox if they know their neighbor has kids and might not be getting the email. I mean, so
Sure.
because we used to walk that to the neighborhood, and that's
Yeah.
usually a better way to do that.
Sure, absolutely. Word of mouth.
Cool. That's that.
Um,
The league is still the same size. I think everybody was really positive that we moved to that league. I think they liked swimming in those neighborhoods to the east of us instead of having to go out way far west, so. Yeah, so it was a positive move, even though we got cream, so.
Kids had fun, the kids got a ribbon, they don't know whether they
Yeah,
won, lost, or.
Well, the older kids,
You know.
the older kids care.
yeah. the
No,
only-
I
And
appreciate that.
those are the ones that we need to retain, and so that's the challenge.
Okay.
There's a lot of neighborhoods having the same issue with these teenagers. It's even worse this year than what last
Just not being interested or dropping off or.
year. The demographics are such, there's fewer of them in the first place, and in second place, I don't know, if it's other things that weren't there years ago are now.
You know, and
taking
maybe
precedent.
it's just a little bit different in this league, and in 5 years, it'll be thriving with teenagers.
Oh, that's
And
clearly the
rents,
case. That wasn't the case west, because all those neighborhoods were newer with younger people.
Mhm.
And, or not younger people, it wasn't the case to the west. These, from here east, everybody had their kids, and, I mean, you guys are the next, I mean, I'm at the tail of that.
Yeah,
You
we're
guys
the
are
next generation, yeah.
Next generation, and so that's right, these are gonna be big teams again like they were in the '70s.
Next wave.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, I believe that, there's no question about that.
Generation Z.
All right, well, cool beans. I think that's it. Obviously, you know, I know you don't want to be as involved, maybe that's not the right way to put it, but I think we all get, you're ready to go into this next
Yeah.
8 years of swim team.
I mean, traditionally-
And I think everybody's for that, so.
We've had traditionally, a lot of teams have taken the league rep role,
Right.
which interfaces with the league and is kind of that kind of glue. They quite often separated that from the director role, who's more every day there and seeing what's going on. You know, I'd like to make sure we got that person this year.
Okay, because Mike and I were kind of talking about this, and you got to tell us where we're going. But we kind of broke this, we probably need 5 to 6 people to kind of run the team. Obviously, you know, you got to have that, someone that manages the league, someone that kind of manages the team. And then we figure, you know, we're gonna have to try to get parents to sign up to open the pool, parents to sign up to close the pool, to be able to do that. Obviously, we know the concession side of things takes its own group of people and works out very well. You know, I'm gonna look to Andrea to say, you know, do it again. And that's obviously the case, I'm sure that we'll figure that out. But I mean, is that, would you satisfy we need about 5 or 6 people to quote unquote run it?
Well, I mean, there's you know, there's the admin/finance thing, and it's traditionally needed a director and a treasurer, which there exists right now.
And Cassandra's been doing it.
Xander's been doing that,
Couple years,
yeah.
right?
She's taken it over from Marcia last year permanently. So what comes beyond that is about 3 or 4 people that are willing to say, yeah, I will I'll take all of that, the concession issues. Yeah, I will take all of the volunteer coordination. Yeah, I will take care of making sure that the officials get trained and are watched after and given a little bit more than just your average.
Because is there an officials training?
There is.
Okay.
But that's got to be organized in our own pool as well, because you never get everything you need in the big session. It's just too big, too many people there.
Did she run some of that last year?
She was, Pam was,
I know
she was
an
one of the
official.
officials. I don't know if she ran any of it. Pam Winslow.
No, she didn't.
She would
But
be a
she
good
was,
person.
there's people that we have that are from years past that we say, we want you, we have 2 at our pool sessions to try to catch everybody's schedule after the main one. And some people end up missing the main one. So then we try to have all of our people that have done it enough at the session. And Pam was at that session to make sure that we passed the knowledge out.
Gotcha.
So then there's, the t-shirt thing isn't that big of a deal, but there's, off the top of my head, I can't think of the other one. But on the website under volunteers, there's 2 categories. at the top is all these basically meat volunteers, and then at the bottom, there's about 7 slots, if I recall, that are, you're committing a little bit more than the average bear here.
Okay.
And those slots are listed. But to carry the team from one season to the next, it's about 3 or 4 people. That way you've got people that are around the table enough to be ready to take that directorship. And we basically kind of lost our momentum of that when we spent a couple of years with Barker. So we lost this pool of people that were around the table talking about these issues year after year to swap over the directorship. I mean, I went to this meeting here the other night, and I recognized, there's 12 teams, I recognized probably no more than half for sure, probably closer to a third of the people. Because
There's
rotations
rotations
are
over too, I mean,
going.
that's to be expected, no question about that. Okay, all right, well, that's good news there. So we'll kind of start getting that ball rolling just within the neighborhood and kind of word of mouth about saying, hey, keep thinking about some things that you can help us with, that kind of stuff. I think that was I mean, clearly no one has volunteered to say, I'll do this, or I'll do that.
Yeah.
And we keep asking people. Every time somebody asks me a question, like, if you're ready to roll, let's go.
Well, the directorship in particular works really well when you've got a family that really's got the fever, and their kids are into it, and their kids might even be swimming at Stratford. That's the kind that will commit to it multiple years and will keep that continuity. Even if they're not in the directorship, they might be the assistant, and that leaves some leeway there. I took it from somebody that had that, their kids swimming around, so, and then before that it was, what's his name, with Monty's, and their kids were really into it, including school swimming. So hopefully he'll step up, because I saw he said something about his grandkids, right? Was it his grandkids that are swimming, or maybe somebody else had told me? He told me a year ago. It looks like they're about ready to start swimming. This is Monty, so yet I'm saying his name right. Frank on the other side. He used to be.
I know, I think I know who you're talking about, but I didn't remember anything about the grandkid.
Okay. Well, it looks like his grandkids are coming to join us, so
Okay.
that will bring somebody that's got like 10 years back experience.
Oh, you know better, okay.
Can I say something even on
How old
that
is
board?
she?
So I think cool, I know last year Frank offered to do the computer stuff, like he said he would kind of do it. And I think breaking up the director's job would be key to finding someone who will do the director's job. Like doing that, finding someone that can do the computer stuff. Or Bob or Frank or something that can do all that, so that the director is overseeing all that, but not doing it all by himself, because then you just work out as you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true.
But I know it's hard too, because it's so fast paced, because then the director has to communicate with the person to send the emails and.
Yeah, it usually works best when the director is running the communications side of it. And so, I mean, once I took it to the website, that kind of all lended itself to being one person.
Right,
so,
right.
But there are, we're probably gonna do computing stuff like we didn't do in the past, in the sense that I'm thinking about getting those timing machines that
Right.
some of the teams have.
Yeah.
And that would pump the times right into a computer, so that we don't have to go back and
Yeah.
look all that stuff later, because that was always inexact.
Is that one of the big delays? Or I shouldn't say delay, it's not really right. But is that one of the things that contributes to the meets running long sometimes?
It, in the past it has, when times were important. The times are only important now for the coach and for seeding events, so it's a data gathering task.
Okay.
And if it's not done right, which a lot of times happens, then inaccurate times get in there, and parents are going, why isn't my kid doing this and that,
Yeah.
What's the cost of the equipment? Is it expensive?
We've got money that could probably, that we'll be able to pay for it, and it's like, $1,900.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, is it what, like about one for each lane? Is that essentially what
We would
it's
buy
expensive?
a kit of 6 of them.
Okay. Okay. Couple grand.
And there's like 4 teams in the league that can have them now, so.
Makes sense. I mean, that's where things are going. I mean, that's one of the things we're trying to do in the neighborhood is automate
we've got it. I mean, we've been booked, we put money away for those lane ropes and for buys like this, so it's there.
Okay.
So it's there, as long as we can continue to keep getting sponsorship and, then it's there.
So would you say one of the things we probably need to try to do is increase our sponsorships?
No, if we just keep getting the same
People.
levels back, we're doing fine. And in
Okay.
fact, I don't wanna go so far that, we've always believed that there ought to be enough to fund our long-term expenses,
Right.
to start up the year, and to cover any kids that might come to the table that.
And what you
can't
always
afford
said
the
is
program.
barely a handful.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah.
What,
With the addition of us probably gonna start, when last year we did this, we discounted teams, I can't remember what age we put it at, 13 and up or something, we gave them half off. So we get these darn teams in here. So it
Right.
wasn't an issue when they're 16 and their parents say, hey, this is either your gas money or your
Right,
swim
right,
team
right.
money.
Right.
We wanted to get rid of that issue,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
kid wasn't mad at deciding on money.
Yeah.
So, if we're $105, so that,
So, okay, so registration's 105.
that's what it
Okay.
was last year, if I remember right, and that will probably be the same,
Okay.
So I don't want, we give some good value to these sponsors, but we don't give, it's not,
I mean,
Wonderful.
we see our photos around the neighborhood, and that's really
Yeah.
what's important. I think they appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I make it a point to, when they come up, I talk to them and stuff like that, so.
Do you know the website gets, I don't know if any of these outfits track where they're getting hits from, but I do know the website gets, the sponsors page gets, individual sponsors get a lot of hits, so. We try to, when we go out and canvas for sponsors, we try to tell them, it's not just what we're showing you at pool meets and in our brochures and that, it's also what's on that website and what's coming through. When people Google us, they're also getting your name a lot of times.
No, absolutely, I don't disagree with that. Okay.
But I guess to answer your question, we don't want to push the sponsorship so much that it's a bankroll for us. We want it to be just what we need to keep.
Right, I mean, because clearly we have people coming into the neighborhood who probably have their own businesses or have moved in and stuff like that. Give them the opportunity. I guess maybe is where I'm
Right.
going. And so,
Right.
I mean, clearly an extra $1,000 goes a long way for our little swing team.
Well, that's right, it does. And
And the good news is we're not in dire straits, is what it sounds
right.
like.
And we've had discussions before about that very fact that, that the argument's been, well, let's keep it at 200 for the top tier sponsors, then the t-shirt logistics get to be really difficult with all those logos and that. And so it's like, I can't even go do FFPS without a $500 sponsorship. And if he does that twice a year,
Right.
I ought to be able to get 500 for a top tier once a year. Well, I think ours is 450, I can't remember what it is right now. But so I've kind of used his model for what's the pressure point, and it's not $200, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
$500 for
Yeah.
some of these businesses.
I don't see any, I think I agree with you there, there's no point in trying to increase, but I think one of the things we can do with our residents and the family members, is that, even if the family members can just put in an extra $50,
Yeah, and that happens.
that could go a long way, and one of the things that, we can clearly tell these people, where your money goes, what it happens for, is that, it's equipment to facilitate the speed of, because I think parents would be excited to know that if you could cut 30 minutes off a swim meet, that's a lot of time, especially because we're gonna do evening swim meets again, which, by the way, I think was huge. I mean, I've heard two things. One is that everybody loved having them during the week because it didn't take up their weekends. And then number two, having them in the evening, obviously it was cooler and it made for a little bit longer hours for the older kids. But I don't think anything ran past 9 o'clock, did it?
9:30, I think, at one time.
Was that it?
Maybe a cleanup, I don't know. But it was, there was no more than past 9:30 for sure.
Yeah, but I'm taking the cleanup out of it, but if the actual physical meet was over at X time and people are leaving, clearly there's gonna be a handful left over to clean up, that kind of thing. So, I think those are things we can tell people that, this is what we're doing to try to help you out. And I think that can go a long way. Even if you get 10, $500 is $500 for a whole swim team.
Yeah.
Which I realize that people are already paying 105, and if you've got 2 or 3 kids, which I think there are a handful of people that have, I know we're paying 2, Barones are paying 2, and I don't know anybody's paying 3 kids. You paying 3 kids?
No.
Yeah.
We're probably, I'm glad you talked about the evening thing, because that's one thing I wanted to bring to your attention. We probably will push practice starts back, certainly a half an hour, maybe a full hour.
To start at 5?
Right.
I don't think that's a bad idea, because especially if we're gonna have to rotate parents to
Well,
open and close.
the reason we tried to squeeze it earlier in the past was to not conflict with nighttime use of the pool.
I'll worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because
Over here. They can
we
come
have
over
two
here.
swimming pools, absolutely, and that's one of the things that the board has definitely done, is we leveraged our pools. We put signs up, you know, go to the other pool. If our residents don't want to take advantage of their pool, there's nothing we can do about that. That's, you know, it's their own thing.
There's some people that are just, very.
Did you get any complaints from the parking last year? Because that's
Only
gonna
from the
be.
mail ladies.
So one of the things that we did, so I spoke with the postal director about it well in advance. And I called him, you know, I told him, these are all our needs. That was not an issue at all, got through that. I think we did a very good job of emailing all of our residents well in advance. We told them, these are the swim meet dates, they'll have swim meets. And I believe we told them at least a day or two before, as a reminder that they need to come. So I didn't hear any direct feedback about parking. You know, it is what it is. We try to, I know you did a good job of trying to tell everybody to park east, you know, so everybody was on one side all the way down. You know, the only thing that we can really do that really truly help facilitate that is just by a truckload of orange cones on the street.
Yeah.
And number one, we don't have a place to store all those cones, and number two, don't have 2 hours to put those out. And that's not anything increasing five counts. So I talked to them about trying to do some traffic control, and they just don't have the people to kind of do that. So we'll continue to kind of do
Buy
that.
an orange vest
Word of mouth.
and ask for volunteers.
Can't keep people that open the
It's
pool.
not that you really need to copyright the traffic, it's just,
Yeah.
if the parking becomes so bad that we start taking complaints from residents, but I mean, it's like, how many home meetings do we have a year?
Yeah,
Four?
it's 3.
You know what, three days out of the year, that will parking.
Right, and plus it's evening. I mean, I realize that we try to start the meets at 6. So, you know, I realize that's a peak hour for people coming home. I get that. It's gonna happen. We'll work with it as best we can.
Interestingly, it's one of those things that I think the neighborhood, back when the neighborhood was young, didn't have any problems with. Because they all had kids that were over at the pool.
Yeah, and like Bob said, I mean, no one has complained directly. I've not even heard indirect complaints about it. So, that news is good news.
It's not an issue.
All right.
Let's see, home meets start at 6, which means if the meet starts at 6, we're telling people to be here by 5.
Yeah. If not, it'll actually a little earlier in some cases, but.
Okay. All right, so I think we're good. 4, 7, 11.
All right. Thanks.
And then I've got your email from the original one you sent out, so Bob and we'll work on some sort of updated communication to the neighborhood on some stuff.
When are you gonna do that? Because I might have a registration working on that. So.
Yeah, just, you know what, I'll do it whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay.
Send me the PDF or whatever
Give
you
me,
want to send out.
towards this week, towards the end of this week.
Yeah, so what time it with his,
Okay.
you know, launching the registration.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have some notes about the swim team in general, about our meeting minutes that go out, but I don't think we'll have a whole lot of specifics about it.
Right.
You know, swim team is on, anything,
It's on.
be looking.
On
That's the
YouTube.
team director. Cool, all right, thanks,
All right,
Jeff.
thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Super cool.
Texting break for one
So are you auditioning for the role of board trustee?
No, there was something you already discussed tonight that I was interested in hearing, so.
Okay. So,
Sure. Yes.
yeah.
So I kind of be here then?
You know, he said he was going to the airport, and I don't know necessarily what that
It's
meant.
horrible time to go to the airport.
And I don't know when he was leaving and when he was going. He just said that he had an airport run and that he would be a little late. So I'm like, okay, that's
Probably
not a
depends on the
problem.
airport also.
We're ecosystem from the two airports, so it's okay.
I find it much easier to hobby still.
Easier, yes, but is it faster?
At this hour, for me, it has.
You know what, I don't usually do it during rush hour, so I'm sure that makes a huge difference. I just know that if I get in my car and there's no one in my way.
That's what Frank, congrats, we're gonna be
Because
super
from
director.
here, yeah, I would much rather go hobby than get in. I know, so I've had to do that before.
My
Take
husband
Michelle there.
goes to Norway, they don't really like Norway out of hobby.
No,
so
they wouldn't.
I've been to Houston and I know a lot, I know 3 ways to get there. Depending on which freeway is blocked up. So I was looking in my computer for all the things that I'm supposed to have done to the board. And I found that there was no actual message sent to the architect for the Infinity Guard or maybe I could, kick that around a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to put those edits in and getting frustrated, and apparently I just failed and never sent it. So I'm gonna have to try that again.
This is what happens, you see with advanced age.
Actually, I think it's because I got really lazy-minded when I started trying to do politics. And
Bob, is this your phone?
This is my phone. Yes, it is.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't
Truck's phone.
Chuck's phone. What's his name?
Last.
All right, so we will call our meeting to order. And I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes from previous meetings.
Second.
They were all approved via
I
mail and things of that nature. Good. All right. We have not received the March financials, only because this is April 2nd, and DFS normally takes a couple days to get those out, so the March financials will be coming here pretty quick. So, looking at the list from the February financials, we had close to $19,600 outstanding in receivables, but that was through the end of February. So Chloe will be getting an updated list to see what's outstanding here at the end of March. And as we all agreed, we will send final letters to all those folks, letting them know that A, you need to pay your bill, and B, your trash service is going to be discontinued until payments received or arrangements are made. So the good news is that we continue to make headway with some folks that were definitely way overboard, and we don't want to mention any names about that right now.
managed to get trash stopped on any of them.
We actually reinstated trash on one house because they responded back, and so I have not made a point to drive by the other house during garbage times. Bob has tried to look and he hasn't really been able to tell whether something was, so I'm guessing that either A, these people don't have trash, or B, it's not being held.
Or they're taking it
Or
themselves.
C, they're taking it themselves, right? But either way, they've not called to complain, so I find that very odd, but it's on my list to make sure it's a point, especially since we're gonna send out these other set of letters. So I have to be a little bit more diligent about that and get that taken care of. So, since we are talking about, that being said, from a cash standpoint, we will get a revised budget for some of the anticipated expenses that we approved in last month's meeting. Once we get that from Jessica, and I'll get that out to everybody as well. And the revised budget would include tentative work for the bricks. And we'll talk a little about the brick proposal. We learned quite a bit about bricks the other day.
Do you by chance know if we've paid the bill for the pool stuff yet? Plumbing?
I haven't seen it in the most current set of invoices, but.
Okay. Well,
No, we
maybe
did, yeah, we did. It was $3,146 or something.
And I
like
think
that.
there was an additional 400 for the water fountain or something.
Yeah, I saw something come across, so we said pay it.
I gave her Jessica's address or phone number or something a few weeks
Yeah, it
ago.
was-
I just wanted to see if it actually got.
It was a little bit more than anticipated, but we also shoved a lot more in there than what we planned.
Yeah.
So that was no big to do.
Okay.
And it still came well within the the extra $10 fee that we garnered. And then clearly part of that fee is also for new pool furniture and stuff like that, which we continue to review and things of that nature. So, and it's, you know, we will have the room for seasons
So
like that.
she finally got the brochure, the lady left it here.
So we'll get it figured out.
Sunday.
I think,
But there's no price in it.
Greater Houston Pool Management's gonna be high, but we needed to at least see what they had. It gave us an idea, range, quality-wise, and things of that nature, versus trying to drive all over the city.
I just remember at some point we were talking about getting on clearance, so I missed that.
Well,
Yeah, you know,
But the quality stuff may never go on clearance.
you know, we maybe probably should have done that in like November or December when they, you know, some seems over,
It
whatever.
will all work out.
Yeah.
There's no need to fret over pool furniture. It will all work out. I find everybody's gonna be happy and thrilled when we have it. No question about that. So, we are moving forward with that. Looking at item number 4 is textile plans. Laura, you talked to them extensively.
I wrote it all up.
And she wrote it all
I shared it
up.
out. And I have a few items that we need to make sure that we recognize, acknowledge, and do something about, or recognize that we're letting it slide. I don't want this to just pass us by because we're not paying attention. He said that well, let's start with what he actually was willing to bid on. The brick planters that matched on my exit. He said that he was willing to put in something like that, but he never came back with a bid. I think we have to push to get that bid request, to get the proposal. And
That's something else.
I was looking for one to get 3 bids, I mean, 3, like the guy who made the one across the street from me, I was hoping to get a bid from
I got it
him.
right here. Take it off your list.
I was gonna get a bid from these guys, I was gonna get a bid from those guys. So you're happy with that one, and we're gonna scratch this one?
I didn't say I'm happy with it, but we should scratch it off that list.
Okay, great. Done. We need to make sure that he has the go-ahead to repair the sprinkler valve over on Kimberly at Gary Ashford.
Fix it.
Do it.
We told them anything under $200 that they could go and repair.
Up to $200.
Up to $200 they could go and
We're
repair.
gonna make sure, because he was talking about how much it
It
would cost
made-
to replace it, would be horrific. He says, fix it now before it gets stolen.
It was either, I know it wasn't, originally I thought it was $100, but some of the items that we do below right to $100.
The
but-
problem is that it looks like the thing is above ground, the pipes froze and burst. Somebody simply turned that valve off so it wouldn't be spewing water everywhere and left it like that for a year.
Where's this?
Okay, if you go stand at our entrance on Kimberly at Gary Ashford,
Yeah.
so you're looking at Gary Ashford, turn left, look at our monument, look down at the grass, and there's a couple little pipes and this little doohickey on top. Well, that little doohickey is made of solid copper, it weighs 10 pounds, and it's worth money to a junkyard. So it will be stolen if we're not using it. He strongly suggested that we fix those pipes and put a little cage over it so people don't, because he says, you're not using it, you'll not even know when it's missing.
Just have him send you the estimate on it.
So that's
Why
actually,
have those little cages?
huh?
I always wonder why they're little.
There's one in St. John Vianney.
Big
Oh, and they
size.
have them like any place where they have sprinkler system on the Esplanade, is like a little cage.
Well, that little thing up top looks like a good school bell,
Right.
and it does something fancy about the water and the air and whatever. That is a solid copper fitting.
Why don't they just make it out of plastic?
I'm
Nah,
sure
that's
there's a
fine.
reason.
Yeah, there's
All right,
there's a reason for that madness.
I suggest, he made some really cool suggestions, he got really excited about what to put on our walkway here. If we end up actually putting in like, crushed gravel over road bed, you know, over the tree roots and stuff, he had some real cool ideas, he was talking about $1,500, he could make it really nice,
Right.
just so you know.
That's fine. I mean, that's one of the things that we wanted them to do because we did increase our overall landscaping budget to account for that type of stuff. But part of their proposal also included, I think, 2 sets of flats to be in, of flowers to be put in twice a year.
We talked about that, but that wasn't something that we needed to decide, I said just do it. I didn't think that was worth fussing
No,
about.
it's fine.
No, I'm talking about stuff we need to decide, and the last thing, there's 2 more.
Obviously,
Yeah.
if something comes through that's wrong on the bill, we'll catch it.
The collapsing cul-de-sac bulkhead, the thicket stub of thicket where you, over where you live. He says
This is the little, 20-foot cul-de-sac of,
thicket.
no, not
There
thicket,
it is.
Thornwood.
Oh, yeah.
It's Thornley?
It-
I must have written it down wrong.
Anyway, I know exactly what you're talking about, right. It doesn't matter, I know what we're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
he said he's not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
I don't think we should touch it.
He
It's
says,
who homeowners will take care of it.
he says what you really ought to do is contact that complex because they're the ones at risk. Their foundation is gonna collapse into that cul-de-sac. He says it needs something way stronger. He says the beams were too short, it wasn't short up strong enough, whatever he
I
said.
mean, they were just, who knows how long this road hasn't been there.
Anyway, he said, but if you look at it now, it looks like, yeah, that parking lot up there is just
The
a
whole parking lot is just gonna start caving in.
flattening a cave. Exactly. He said we should contact them about getting some money if we want to go in on something really nice.
Is that,
I'm not, we don't want something ugly, we need something that's cost effective.
He's not gonna touch it, he gives advice, free advice.
All right.
Okay, and the last thing that I think I wanna make sure you all noticed was, he says, get with the cemetery and make sure that they are maintaining that wall that faces La Costa. He says it's got vines and stickers and growing all over it and up to it, that grass verge there. He says it's gonna take that wall down if they don't tend it. He says if they're ignoring it, we might want to tend it because it's facing our street. He says it wouldn't be much, it's truly a bit of work, but if they're already doing it,
Well, part of those vines that have grown over it, aren't they right there by the resident's house? I mean, we could, if he's suggesting that we need to go through and trim those vines off the wall. is that
he
what he's
says
suggesting?
you might want to coordinate with them and make sure that somebody does it. That was his comment. He said the same thing about Bouchard's photo shop. She owns that whole corner, and they're not going to mow anything except the right of way on Memorial unless we tell them to. And I think she does maintain her corner.
Yeah, they should be mowing everything from Memorial down from.
He's talking about beds also. If you're standing in La Costa, face Memorial, you've got Bouchard on the left and Cemetery on the right.
Right.
She maintains that bed. He says it looks like Cemetery is maintaining that bed. It's planted with the same flowers they use at their entrance, not the ones we use at ours.
really?
Yes.
It's encouraging.
Fine.
They might.
But we're your people.
So, I'm just saying, when we had this little gap where nobody was really taking care of things, that I think the cemetery just went ahead and threw a couple of flats of their white flowers out there.
Well,
That could be, so do we need to talk to them or?
He says he will definitely put in our flowers in that bed, but he puts in all flowers.
I've got people there. They're dead, but they're okay. I've got people.
Are they maintaining them all?
No, they're dead.
All right.
They're the ones pushing up the line.
well, all right, so that's just something, obviously, it's just something we kind of need, he needs to monitor it. And if it starts to go bad, starts to go right, we need to keep it within us.
So I told him to go ahead and plant all the entrance beds with the same seasonal flowers, so they all look the same.
Which is fine.
Because he said they're all mixed up right now.
Which is, right, no, that's fine. I think that's one of the things we agreed on, I just printed our contract out.
It took 2.5 hours to form it.
Did somebody,
I didn't think it would be
ask for a
easy.
copy of the contract?
Yes.
Did you get?
I never sent it to Kathy Wright. I just never do. It goes over
Okay,
to Blaze.
well, we're, yeah.
If y'all give it to me, I'll pass it on to the garden.
It's an email somewhere. Try to find it for you.
Everything else was just clarification.
Yeah, here it is.
And there was no.
Color change, 50 flats is 2 times per year billed at $1,800, plus tax, which is fine. And he's doing mulch twice a year and stuff like that. So that planting, he's gonna do whatever, that planting across all the beds into about $1,800.
Every entrance.
Yeah.
He says he's gonna make them all the same. He's gonna, even the ones that currently do not have color, he's gonna go ahead and throw it in.
Right, perfect.
He
Good.
Mostly he was explaining to me what's already covered, and I was going, excellent, 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 one of those sort of things, excellent.
And we knew that it would be probably, you know, kind of the end of March before they got started doing some of
And you
that.
know that there were several places that he did not know he was supposed to maintain, and I said, yes, do it, yes, do it, yes, do it, here, all the way here. And the last one that's remaining is the cemetery wall. And that was something I think we might want to just pick up and do it, so that it looks nice for our street, because I don't know how often they get to it, and how big a deal is it.
I would say, you know, if.
It's a 30-second mow.
Yeah, no, absolutely, he's got to, absolutely, he's got to do it, you know,
It's gonna look tacky.
this guy's got to walk down there with a trimmer, and they're going to trim it,
Okay, so
they're not going to take a lawnmower.
let's tell him to go ahead and go ahead and do that one, and I think that's it.
And we shouldn't see any increase from him in cost on that.
He made the repair this spring.
Right, no, I understand the period spring, okay. Right. So, do you want a copy of this just so you can keep it?
Paper, no.
Okay. But you do have a copy of their contract?
It might be buried in an email somewhere.
I'll find it.
Okay. Bob can send it over to you again. So, but I was looking at it, and it was an email that Mike had sent over to Margaret that talked about anything that was, if it was X dollar or under, just fix it. Don't even bother us with it. And I know $100 was for sure, and I thought for sure we said 200.
Well, let me double check and make sure he
Make
knows.
it worthwhile.
Well, some of this, now I will tell you that he whined a lot.
We don't put up with whining fingers.
And so he was very glad that I was willing to walk all the way around and say yes, 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 because he felt like he didn't want to do anything until somebody told him yes.
Understand? He's getting to know us, we're getting to know them.
And
That-
we definitely had a
absolutely.
breakdown in communication, because what I had sent got to him second and third hand, and he didn't reply, and it did not follow back.
Okay, so
Where'd you find that contract?
I had it, I can forward it. So the good news is that you are the contact for Thornwood, and he is your contact for TPP.
Yes.
That is all we need, we are good to go. That is
Established.
established, rock and
High
roll.
five.
Rock and roll. You know, one of the things, the next time you talk to him is that part of the reason I'm trying to move to an organized company, if you will, if he sees something that he thinks would better our neighborhood, you know, he shouldn't be afraid to just submit a proposal or say, hey, you know, look, I've got this idea, do you want to consider it? You know, because we are looking to improve if we can. We're not necessarily interested in just keeping status quo.
Oh, he got real excited about putting in a gravel path.
Okay, rock on.
$1,500.
And it's right down here down Turkey Creek, where all the, because Bob is right now is working on getting a sidewalk.
Right, but keep on the back burner, we could do this gravel path through the trees on our side.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Right,
I'm
but I
with you.
mean, the
Personally,
gravel path is not a sidewalk.
we can't put a sidewalk in that, you kill all
No,
the
we
trees.
can't put a sidewalk in, that's why I think a better solution is to get a sidewalk over on the other side.
And so we
Because
need
you
to,
can't put one there.
Right,
And-
and somebody else has to pay for it.
and Super Neighborhoods is helping you facilitate that, right?
No.
I need to send that letter, I thought I had sent it, and I couldn't find it in my outbox. so I'm
Yes,
gonna try
we've
it.
got this architect, the, you know,
Cecilia.
Vice President of Architecture for Energy Corridor.
Okay.
She's gonna try and see if he can help us influence them. You know, I did have an interesting interaction with.
Because the city's not gonna help cover any of that cost there,
They don't care about.
because that wouldn't be a public sidewalk.
It doesn't really, well, it's a public, it's public, I mean, it's a public street, it's in the right of way.
But there's probably just not enough foot traffic.
It's, yeah, it doesn't qualify
You
for their stuff.
Could pitch it if it went from our
Part of
neighborhood to the
Metro.
bus stop.
Yeah, but that goes to the trees.
That's what?
But
Yeah,
that
because we can't, we
No,
don't
that's what I'm
want
saying.
to.
Yeah, so, okay, all right, well, that's good news there.
You know, it'll probably be the lights, the city would say, okay, yeah, we'll put in
I
this
see it,
sidewalk.
yeah.
Arrow trees. Oh, you want to keep those? Sorry.
All right, cool, that's good news, thanks for doing that. I guess since we're talking about Texas tropical plants, let's talk about the brick restoration guy. Mike spent, I know, well over an hour with Jaime, I believe. In this case, maybe Joe's the technician, but Jaime was our baseball player. So anyway, so I met this guy for a few minutes briefly, I just had to come through the neighborhood. And so he put together a very extensive quote. Some of this is stuff clearly we need to do because we have received funds to do it. But more importantly, you know, we had him just, said, while you're here, you know, give us cost estimates on everything across the board, because we need to know what we're dealing with. And that's what we truly don't know what we're dealing with. What we learned is that it's not gonna be any cheaper to let the wall fall versus take it down and fix it first. Six, one half dozen another. The question is, you know, you're hedging your bet on how long something's gonna fall. Case in point, he used this wall right out here as an example. Mr. Bryant even quoted us a cost on that wall there also. And to fix that wall, you gotta take down 3 full sections, not just the 2 that are leaning, because the third one is there also. If the wall falls at night, great, no big deal. If the wall falls in the day and on someone's car, then you got a problem, right? That's when it gets expensive. Okay, we get that. So, you know, and that's one of the things that the guy from Brick Restoration was telling us also, is that you just don't really know how some of this is going to go. So, you know, it's a pretty extensive quote. We clearly need to try to identify some priority areas, and obviously the ones that were, what he was saying is that where you've got the larger cracks and water's running into, that's going to cause the biggest problems. You know, looking at that whole Kimberly wall there, Barry Ashford, Kimberly, you know, that's all minimal work. That's just got to be done. It's time consuming, things of that nature.
Are y'all looking at Sherman's bed? Is that what we're talking about?
We're not talking about that yet, but we will.
I've got a question. Why don't we just take the wall down? And then if the homeowner wants to build something there, they can build something.
I think that takes away from the whole value of this piece of property here.
Save a lot of money.
Just have, I mean,
And they would put something up.
we could, there's no doubt we could put up.
I'm not saying for everywhere,
If-
but for right here,
If we
just take it down.
If we took that fence down, it would be our responsibility to replace it with a fence, because we're taking something away from that homeowner.
Something.
So just put up a wood fence.
Well, we could build a 10-foot wood fence there.
I mean,
Without-
Well, but if we're gonna do that, we might as well wait till it falls down at least.
Except the whole fall in the car.
Except, yeah, the liability is
Yeah.
associated with that.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot.
I don't know, I'm
I
not
mean,
suggesting
I'm
that
not-
for everyone, I just was throwing something new out
Right,
there
now
because.
parking lot.
you
I'll park my car in it.
Yeah, you know, I'm not
Win
gonna,
the lottery.
if we're gonna fix it, let's fix it. If we're gonna wait, let's wait. I'm not interested in trying to, if the car falls on it, you know.
That would be cool.
Right, I mean, if the wall
It falls
falls
on
on
the
it,
car.
not to be irresponsible with our money, but that's why we have insurance, right? That's, and by the way,
Then everybody.
right, that's what, so, you know, we just have to kind of take a look at it and make a decision about what we want to do. You know, you could, I mean, you're probably not talking,
I got a question.
you're not talking $2,000 to replace that with a 10-foot fence from point A to point B. The demo is probably going to be the most expensive piece of it, which, the brick wall.
Demolition, not demonstration.
Just one more devil advocate, I'm sure that a regular wood fence is not gonna shift as much and have enough long-term upkeep
Oh,
problems.
you're absolutely correct. It makes complete sense, and
I do kind of want to know what the little window in the wall is for.
You know,
yeah. So
What was that?
that's clue.
I don't know.
That's clue something.
Maybe we'll get that checked.
And wait, Bob, is that who lives here at the corner house?
The friends.
They're friends, yes. Bob and.
I can't remember.
Bob? No.
Where's the guy that was always coming over here just wanted to take care of our pools?
No, he's
No.
on
we
Lane.
could let
Oh,
the
he's
swim
that
team
far in.
paint it every year.
Yeah.
That's great.
We could let we could let the swim team paint it every year, you
Oh,
know.
that'd be cute, huh?
Got a good point. Put a big sharks logo or something.
Yeah, it'd be
Cool.
so much cheaper, it'd be a little event for swim season, everybody comes out.
Hey, start waiting to show movies on it.
Anyways, I'm sorry to start this whole like path down the other way, but I just.
Everyone will be sitting out on the hot asphalt watching movies all summer
These
long.
brick walls make me very nervous because it's like, it seems so expensive to fix.
But they are, and
And they're
you know,
not sturdy
I don't-
like the auto.
you know,
And as soon as the,
I don't know that brick wall is adding any value to the overall neighborhood because it's such a short piece, but clearly, you know, what is the value of the brick wall to that resident's home? Probably minimal because no one ever sees it.
The question is, the functionality of the brick wall is probably the same as a double fence. Have you
Oh,
ever seen
yeah.
where they double face a fence?
Yeah.
Like a little
I think we would put up I would offer to put up a 10-foot fence to give them as much privacy as possible.
But I think I'm just saying the 2 layers would mean, you know,
Okay.
sound buffering.
All right, so we'll call a fence company and coordinate over
getting back to this
Yeah,
bid,
so, you know, you can clearly see that, you know, he's talking about $5,400, $5,500 to take care of that whole fence there at the Kimberly entrance. And that's just really truly a lot of repair. I mean, that's really what you see, like, that is just repair.
That's just the
repair.
brick
where's the
fence.
5,400?
That first line item, it's $4,900, and then he's got cost to replace damaged bricks is $500, because there's some bricks in there where the cars have just parked too close, so they back in. So, and what we found out is those are Mexican bricks, and they get dry and they're hollow, and you just pop right into them. So what has happened is, like, you've got a trailer hitch sticking out the back of your car, and you back in, it just goes right in there. Right. There's about a dozen of those holes.
That right there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, there is one there, isn't there? There's a deep hole, you could shove a walnut in there.
You wanted to?
Overheard at the meeting.
So this first line item is, basically the wall, that faces the professional building.
Correct.
Parking lot.
Right, and so I spoke to Mark Sanders about that. There's nothing we can do to compel those people to repair the wall, because it's clearly our word versus their word. But I am going to contact that building owner and ask them if they will help share the cost of that. And so once we got the estimate, we're going to send that to them and see if they'll help share the cost for fixing some of that.
I need to say this, but I mean, this is a wall that faces a parking lot. I understand
I'm
when
not
started.
I'm not suggesting
There was
that.
probably a nice green field in front of that, and Derry Ashford
Right.
was a little farm road, and all of that, and that brick wall probably looked great, but I mean, at this point, back to Will's point, you know.
Right.
It's just
Why would
so
we
many
just
cars
replace
going
that
around.
with a less expensive to maintain wall?
You know, what is the value of it to our overall neighborhood? We don't really know. I mean, you make a good point. A lot of neighborhoods have done that.
I mean, if it were facing Memorial or Eldridge or Derry Ashford or anything else, I would say, you know, great, yeah, let's have a nice looking wall that says, you know, this is the perimeter of Thornwood.
But it's high
But
there
this is-
behind
This is
a
facing
tin
the
roof.
back of a professional building in a fast food restaurant.
I understand.
Seriously.
I understand.
And you
But
know,
what
a
it-
10-foot wooden fence would actually be better for the residents.
Right. Well, but here's, if you know, you've got a bunch of homes there, you know, those people probably, maybe they like those brick walls. If they
Well,
do,
then they-
that's a whole, you're correct. I think that becomes a separate issue. I'm not suggesting we go through and fix that. This is just so we understand.
I got you.
That's
Gotcha.
right. That's what this is about, understanding
Understanding.
what our challenges are in the neighborhood regarding our perimeter fence.
I'd really like
That's-
a fence for y'all to go out, that's a big need in the parking lot, whenever you're ready.
I'm with you. So the second one there.
Save on these other two.
So what we did is we said, look, while you're here, you know, we have the 2 planter boxes there up at the front entrance. You know, on any given day, there's a differing opinion about that entrance from a variety of people. And at some point, that planter box is coming out where the realtor guy is. I mean, Mike right now is very happy because we're paying for his trash, so he's not worried about that planter box coming out. But at some point, and he's been very friendly about it, that he's gonna want that space.
Oh,
I mean, he's told us that in an email, and,
that 3 feet of,
yeah,
It's parking lot.
3 feet.
well, it's a good 5 feet, or it's a car. Especially how it's set
Well,
up.
speaking of which,
It's triangular, so
Right.
at the corner, it's actually really one pipe.
well, isn't that actually all those cars there are from the car repair next to him on the other side?
No, that parking, he has lots of cars that park in this lot.
Well,
Absolutely.
I assumed that was from the car repair next door.
No. So, but like I said, Mike has been very understanding about it, but at some point, we're gonna have to do something about that.
That's really sad.
Secondly is that, you know, I do think there are ways to improve that a little bit, you know, because it does, I mean, to have the planter boxes coming down like this, it's just visually, it
It's
doesn't,
only
it's
one.
not appealing. Both of them slow.
Really?
Both of them
Okay,
slow.
I want to tell you, the landscape guy had a comment to make when we were walking around looking at those, and he said, why did you pay for these Rainbird fancy sprinkler systems? He
They've
said,
been there forever, so.
Maybe that's what my house
Can't
has.
answer that question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought they had gone in recently, he says, because there's way easier ways to do it, he says, since we will be out here every week, we can do the seasonal settings on any normal timer. You don't have to have these big
Well,
expensive
there.
ones. And I said, I have no idea, I just shut my mouth, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just let it go.
it's not important, they're there.
They've been there forever, they're doing
Don't
a
care,
good job.
don't
Okay.
care. Can't do anything about the issue.
It's not like we're renting them, we can do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So we just had to give an idea about, you know, what would it cost to replace those kind of boxes to give us a uniform look.
Did you
Just-
see Linda with the bricks on the back of the new one into the new printer
On the left or on the right?
on the south?
Okay, it's on the left,
If you walk all the way
to the back.
to the back of it, where it's, you're obviously standing from someone else's building, the bricks on the back edge are those. So anybody who's doing brick groups there, that would be.
I thought you were gonna be locked out with the way
I
you
think
jumped
you-
it.
I think you
I
left-
know,
I think you
It's
left
like,
the water.
am I gonna get up?
I think you left a water bottle here, because there's another one in there just like that,
I'm sure he did.
except it's a different color.
Could be.
Okay. All right. So,
I gotta remember to put your name on this thing.
yeah.
Everybody knows where it is already.
Right, so
He
we
helped me fix my faucet, and he left one in my car.
They should all have your address on them so they can just get piled in.
Well, now we all know that they're yours.
There you go.
They'll start appearing on your porch
It
now.
says Rubbermaid, it's mine.
There you go. You know, as you can see, he walked that fence from Perthshire down to Kimberly. And that's one of the things we've talked about quite a bit, and see, it's just about 10 grand just to fix that fence. And again, that's,
Memorial?
yeah. And again, that's when we came into, is it cheaper to repair, is it cheaper to let it fall? In this case, it's clearly cheaper to let it fall. You don't know when it's gonna fall, but that's clearly, you know, I don't know that that's the best expense of $10,000 in terms of what we're, you know, we've got that.
Well,
money
plus,
allocated
Blunt
for.
Memorial.
Again, yeah, I agree. I think, you know, construction is coming inevitably, even if it's as late as 2016 or 2017.
Most of those walls will still be there for you.
I don't have any reason to believe that.
Exactly, and if they're still in reasonable condition in 4 years,
Right.
And they'll help us replace.
then, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, it's clearly something we'll just have to kind of watch, but, you know, something to think about as well. So over to the Perthshire garden box. Mike had him quote out doing a garden box. And it's very reasonable, it's $2,200. You know, 2 garden boxes, approximately 12 by 4, and another one would be 8 by 4. You know, to go in, this is right by your house.
Oh,
This would be right by your
oh,
house.
cool. To
Absolutely.
match with the guy across the street?
No, we'd be taking that one out.
Oh, really? Put something better in?
It would be permanent, yeah, it'd be brick,
Oh, cool.
absolutely.
Well, the stuff he has is that stack.
I know, I'm with you. And it looks great, it's easy to find, no big to do there.
Well, the kid put it in, and he was really on this guy, he didn't bid, he just wanted me to hire him to do it. He never
Well,
would remember.
that happens. So anyway, so that's something that we have some options there. And clearly, we could take that same concept of that planter box and we would move that to Memorial, we would move that to Muse also. Probably, I think that's a little bit longer area, there at Muse. I mean, you think those are 20-foot runs, Bob? Down there at Muse?
There was
But-
saying,
No, not even that, it's like over there.
Other than that
You
short?
don't have the setback because it's a side yard, you get the garage driveway that's like 10 feet long.
Okay,
inside here, it's just like.
okay, all right. So that's good news. So at least we know
So we lost quorum,
They
for a 5-minute recess.
5-minute recess.
Really? I was gonna tell you that, when you start doing that, you might look at pulling out some of the, saplings that have sprung up along the border.
I think you would see, I mean, looking at that, I definitely see we'd go through, there'd be a lot of,
You excavate down.
yeah, we would take a lot of stuff out, vegetation out.
Thank you, because if they just start piling bricks like my neighbor did, you got some pretty heavy scrub sapling.
Right.
At the border, which is great if there's nothing else there, if you get a little boundary marker, but if you're putting in brick, you might want to take that out. So is this somebody's homebrew over here? Is that what people get cups of?
Much, probably.
This is funny, well, to help me understand. It says we were down to less than quorum, so we had to take a 5-minute break.
Well, I'm right here, I'm listening, but they can't see me, I guess, so.
Well, no, he needed a smoke break.
Well, no, I'm saying, but once I'm back, can we start again?
Yeah. Well, you knocked on the door, tell Bob you're back, and then I think that Christian moved in here. So I'm not telling the landscaping crew anything about the bricks, we're just gonna let that happen out from under them.
Right.
No, I just remember when I was a kid, I went to a dentist who had a fence outside his deal, and every summer to kick off the summer, he had everybody come out and paint it. And all the kids would come out, and there was a big party, and everybody paint, yeah.
Tom Sawyer for it.
And I was just thinking, it just,
Well, no, I think I would.
it just came to my mind, I mean, it's just so much cheaper.
When people started talking about, have the kids paint the fence, we can hang our banners up, you know how tough we have the time trying to find a place to put the banners for stuff that's happening. If we had a fence there, we could paint it, we could hang stuff up, do anything we want.
I just think long term it'd be cheaper too, I mean,
Yes.
I guess the only question again is if everybody identifies for them with the brick
But this
wall, you
little
know.
piece here, not so much.
Well, look, I'm all for just replacing it, but I'm just saying, I don't know if anybody else would feel.
No, I suspect they would find you on the other walls, but I don't think anyone cares about this.
I'm not suggesting that for all the walls that are along Memorial, but
Yeah. This
for,
one.
for these little sections,
Sorry, I had a break.
You know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
You sure do.
Just gotta get them walk out.
My husband challenged me to 70 days of dieting. He bets that you can lose 20 pounds in 10 years.
Well, I just gained on my way back from my in-laws.
Just while you're in Los Town.
For 3 weeks, yeah. It was fun. Was your diet Coke first?
It's extremely ethical.
You know.
But I'm gonna ice cream.
Well, it's like that bottom.
I did diet Coke first.
We turned that, I've turned that refrigerator temperature up quite a bit because ice will freeze in the bottom of it. And then what happens is that it melts, and then, because it'll start running on the floor, you might even see some rust on the front of the refrigerator.
How come we not allowed to roll your issues?
Because I just keep it technical.
So why does it say you're not rolling it?
Oh, because I had the appetizers in there for the preliminary auction. So they would come.
You like it?
My husband dropped one of the handles of the bag that had a big salad
Nice.
decorative, and so it turned from a beautiful layout, build on your sandwich.
Yeah.
To toss salad.
What the hell have you done with the security school this month?
Security.
So anyway, so, take the brick proposal, just kind of read over, think about it. I didn't think about it. No wonder y'all didn't understand what I was looking at. I didn't forward it out to you.
No, we were just coasting along, trust me.
So just kind of think about that.
So approach our
So-
garden box means my entrance?
Yeah. So as far as security goes, at our last meeting, we agreed that we're gonna move forward and acquire some cameras. And I think we set out the number of about 5K, which would give us about 8 to 10 cameras.
Is
Correct?
this through Focus or no?
Jason's just too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, and, we'll see how much bottom line is on the first one.
I saw a camera mounted in my hat, as it were. I was astonished, I didn't know we were gonna put one over there right away.
Where?
Well, it's probably a dummy. If it's by the pool, it's probably a dummy from a long time ago.
It's been every year.
The big brick kangaroo thingy.
So I was walking the landscape.
So, I would say, so things that we needed to check on was, final cost of the cameras. Now, you were gonna look into the software that allows essentially quote unquote networking together so that we could be able to access and stuff like that. So, hopefully the camera folks will give us a break if we were to can.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So right now, as far as that, Mike's gonna help me erect the pole over here, with the camera up, with the server in here, and we good to go.
Where am I?
Mike's gonna pick up like a 16-foot steel pole from.
Wherever Mike gets his.
Yeah.
So y'all can dig a big 4-foot footing and put that back on?
I don't know if it's gonna be a 4-foot footing, it might be a 2-foot or 18-inch footing.
So you're doing it all.
Wow, wow, wow.
Is
Yeah.
the server gonna be locked up in here, like in a locked closet, or is it, or just where it's just gonna be hanging out, bathroom, or?
I think we'll set it, it'll be fine.
I was
Here will
curious.
be in here, the camera will be.
The server's gonna be one of Bob's old laptops.
Right, so wanted me to talk to her like
The
a
server
work
was
car.
donated
Oh,
by.
Well, she was
Oh, really?
teaching and,
I do
the
that,
whole,
Frank.
yeah.
Very good. Even better.
I mean, that's-
Cool. Very cool. All right.
Cigarette stink.
So, that's good news here. So, regarding JC's latest incident, David doesn't have it on film, I take it, correct?
Happened too fast and he lost the camera. That's what I-
Well, no, he has a video camera set up at his house.
But it doesn't happen at that place. I don't think he was at that place.
That's, I guess, my question.
Sure.
Double check.
He said he didn't have it.
Okay. So, and there's no report filed with precinct 5 on it. I talked to him the other day. He hadn't heard anything about it. I talked to him when he was on that.
He doesn't remember.
Okay.
Did you claim that info?
I was outside digging in the yard yesterday.
Okay, this, it was,
He was talking about homicide investigations and murder.
Well, if he filed it with HPD,
Oh.
that's gonna be
He
different.
didn't, it was a constable.
Okay.
They don't
But I
have,
think they filed
Constable
it.
Yeah.
filed it.
they don't hold on to those. They keep them upstairs.
Okay, all right. So, it's recorded, that's all I need. I don't need all the details about it. So that being said, so I contacted Mark, our neighborhood attorney, to see what avenue is available to us to try to start taking action. So, Mark's had that email for one full business day since I sent it to him Sunday. So I would expect to hear back from him tomorrow about what maybe we can or can't do. And depending on what Mark says, that will determine the course of action we will take. And we'll push it as best we possibly can. And if that doesn't work, then hopefully, the camera project down the road will help garner additional evidence. And that's why it was critical. I was hoping David had it on
Sure.
video.
Great.
But apparently didn't, so can't do much about that. So that's where we're with that. Elsewise, things are good in the neighborhood. I mean, there's no, I think I sent this out via email, but all the cars that got broken into 3 or 4 weeks ago, all 7 of them were left unlocked. Came, down First Sergeant Corner.
So they weren't breaking in.
They weren't broken
protecting
into.
themselves.
No one, I think he said 3 people filed a report with precinct 5, the other 4 didn't do anything.
Including the ones I got on camera, our cars were.
Yeah.
I got an earful on that.
And cars weren't locked and they're like, can't help it, no indication that anything of significant value was taken. So again, it's just, the petty thieves just kind of coming through the neighborhood looking for stuff.
Yeah, it's only gonna pick up in summer.
Well, right, absolutely, and so, we just have to be diligent and reminding folks, unlock cars, invite people to come back. Because the word gets around, hey, go down to the farm branch, pick up some 50 cents or something like that.
50
Yeah, 50 cents.
Actually, I see a lot of kids, basketballs and hats on backwards, walking down the middle of the street. I can't believe they're going, where they play ball?
They walk through, and Wayne has told us this before, there's a group of kids, and he knows them, he's talked to them, that walk, you know, from some of the apartments down Eldridge over here.
See, I don't have a problem with that.
They're
I was
walking.
curious.
Yeah.
And by and large, he
I'm
said,
crazy he's gonna go, honestly.
the kids that are, he said they're through the day, and he said what makes it look bad is there's 7 or 8 of them, sometimes maybe even 10. You know, they're just walking, because they got nothing else to do, they just cut through here.
Actually, the funny part is when they're standing in my driveway, like waiting for somebody, and they're like completely ignoring me, like I don't exist. And I'm like, hi guys, y'all need to move aside, and they just ignore me. I'm like, I really don't want to run you over with my car. I'm getting in my car now, and they're just like.
So that's it from there. So, one of the last things we talked about, everybody got their recycling invoice in the mail?
What does that do?
When you get it, pay a little on there.
I forgot to mail it. Like, we wrote the check and put it in an envelope and everything, and I forgot to mail it for a few weeks, but we sent it out like a week or 2 ago.
Well, we're not gonna discontinue recycling.
Yeah, anyways, it should be in by now, but I did feel bad because I was like, oh, this is still sitting here.
You know, BFS is good about, they'll send somebody an invoice in 30 days and then I pay or something.
I think we
like
pay
that.
within 30 days.
You know, I'm not too worried about
I
that.
forgot to pay my annual assessment this year until it was like February, because it's just like, oh, my husband's like, you're paying this, right? And I said, what? No, you're paying this. We are, we're just like everybody else.
That's right. We are.
I thought you were paying it. I'm like, yeah, we're paying it.
All right, thank you.
See y'all later. I was just curious as to what's going on.
Now you know. Now you
I'll
know.
take care.
We need video evidence. Do your part. Video evidence.
I know.
So, newsletter. Are we planning to get one out? Do you think we're gonna get one out for summer?
Yeah, but probably after pool's open.
Okay. That's fine.
Because I mean, there's so much stuff to do in April.
That
The pool's ready and everything.
works for me. You know,
And
we're
you know,
doing a good job of
we
communicating
were
via
a
email to
little
people.
behind our schedule of newsletters last year because I think we got one out right before pool season.
Well, we're not quite making quarterly
The
yet.
quarterly is actually more like the 3 times a year newsletter.
It is.
It's working.
It is.
Okay. So,
Speaking of communications, we got some recognition at the Memorial Super Neighborhood meeting.
Ooh, I like that.
Well, and Oscar put us on the pedestal and said, you know, this community does communications the best.
Wow.
And it put me on the spot to explain all the stuff that we're doing with the YouTube and the website and stuff. It was actually, but it was very interesting because, you know, I mean, and we get a flavor for this every now and then in our own neighborhood, just kind of the old guard, which is, as it turns out, this time the minority, and all of the young people who, you know, are moving into neighborhoods, right? And in most of these neighborhoods, the old guard is still sitting on the board running things. And, you know, just don't get it about website, email, Facebook, any of this stuff. They're still talking about, you know, how they distribute their little newsletter through the women's club and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know, all that kind of stuff is great, but they're having a very hard time really reaching all of their residents, not to mention getting any feedback.
gotcha.
And so, you know, it was just kind of a roundtable discussion really, but it was kind of a very interesting perspective from that point of view. And I think one of the things that really sets Thornwood apart from most of these other neighborhoods and HOAs up and down Memorial is we've got a young board that really,
It's real.
And we're certainly nimble in a lot of our decision making, because I've had the opportunity to speak to some of the folks over the Westchester side of things, and the board is just very difficult about making any changes, decisions. Right?
yeah, and then I mean after the whole thing, I was talking with Ben about it a little bit, and he said, you know, that's not even the most extreme. And there are some of these boards who their residents are like saying, why don't you participate in the Memorial Super Neighborhood, because you know they're interested in it. They see all the stuff that's coming out of that, and these boards are like so closed that they won't even you know, participate in the super neighborhood or anything.
Could you possibly be behind, you know?
Well, no, wait, we didn't participate until really recently because the people.
Well,
Yeah, but
Brad-
not because we didn't want to, just because we didn't,
Yeah,
you know.
it was getting started up when Brad was president, and.
He didn't care about that.
No, he did, no, Brad went to some of the meetings, and that's how I met Ben Proctor, through Brad. Yeah, absolutely. And it was just, but it was in the infancy phase. It was in the infancy phase, and so there for about a year, I think we were out of communication from them. Not by anything intentional, I think it was just some email addresses.
They didn't know who to send it to, yeah.
You know, it's looking to do, so, okay.
But, I mean, as far as Memorial Super Neighborhood, they have an email list. You can just go to their website and click through and sign up for their emails. It's only a couple, you know, 2 or 3 emails a month. It's not like it's gonna, you know, flood your email or anything. It's usually good stuff. It's usually security alerts, and we usually hear them through them about the same time we hear them through any other channel.
Right.
And then just some things that are going on, like if there's a, you know, a public meeting about the memorial construction, or, you know, some kind of updates like that, things going on. I think there's something I don't know. So right now the delegates are me and Tom Dodson.
Is he going?
Huh?
Is he going?
Yeah, he wasn't the last one, but he goes, he's been going to all of them. So, you know, we usually go up there. So we actually have better representation there now, which is good. And I mean, it's not like, you know, we're really pushing anything, you know, but, you know, we're building that relationship.
We're starting.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, actually, the relationship is quite good. I think, particularly this last meeting, you know, they kind of took the opportunity to put us a little bit more in the forefront. So.
Good, all right, we're cool. Very good, very, very good, glad to hear
I
that.
need to update the website's voting page, because if they get some more about the primaries, fine, but set.
Told everybody to vote for St. Farm.
I'm voting for State Farm.
You don't have a world that right
He will, yeah, certainly don't.
No, I just want to screw it up for the Republicans.
That's it.
Yeah, and the problem is what if it takes?
No, it's too well. Look, I lived in Pennsylvania. I know State Farm all too well. But
Firsthand.
let's not go there.
Yeah. So that would bring our agenda to a close. That being said, are there any, let me just double check, are any other items?
Events?
Town hall meeting next week?
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Next week?
Next week, a week from now.
A week from today.
He's writing it down like he didn't know.
No, I forgot, I had it.
I thought that's what you.
I thought that's why we had a big agenda.
I thought that's, what could I have told you talking about the pool, we should be talking about our town hall meeting, dude.
Does anybody even else know about it?
Well-
If not, then,
It's on the calendar.
It's on.
I mean, it's in my phone, don't get me wrong, I mean, I have it on my calendar,
What's the
but
day?
Nice.
It will be Monday the 9th.
after Easter weekend, everybody will come here, very
Okay.
peaceful.
I have a baseball game that night. Jackson has a baseball game
Okay. What time?
at 5:30, and I won't get done with that thing until 7:30 for sure.
So you have to bring your agenda, we have, well, you know what, we'll just do the same thing we did last time.
Oh, well, definitely do the same thing we did last time, except the focus is a little different.
The focus is about one item, and it's about increasing our income. And one of the things, I've given more and more thought to this, I think trying to go to some sort of index, while that's a really idealistic idea, I think it's just a flat 3%. We figure out, 3%, 4%. You know, the cost of living index is probably not high enough. Trying to do the whole Thornwood index, I think is going to be too complicated.
Yeah.
I think we just do, 3% is probably, 5% I think shocks people.
Yeah.
3% is probably not enough, so I think you got to do 3.5% or 4%. So what's the
Is
easier
that a
number
maximum?
that you could increase for that particular year? Obviously, because there's always the avenue for a special assessment, right?
Right,
There's-
at one time.
Right, the balance, there's always that, so So, you know, years down the road, someone can say, hey, you know, we're going from $600 to $620 because that's the maximum 3%, and plus we need to levy an extra $50 on you, for whatever reason. So I think we just go out, I think we just decide on a number.
And we already figured out what we wanna go to for next year.
Oh, absolutely, I think we shoot for $595.
$595.
Right now, we're at $475, and so $100 increase. That's what it says in our bylaws, I believe, is $475,
$495, yeah.
with $495 being the max.
Cap is $495.
Which is where we're at.
So I think, you know, it doesn't make sense to try to do it for 50, 60, 70 bucks. I think, you know, $100 is your starting point, and ideally, I think what would be ideal is to go $150.
I mean, it's $8 a month for $100.
Right, understood. But
That's, to me, that's nothing.
But here's the thing is that, you know, what we put together in last month is that over the last 6 years, we've had to ask the people on average for an extra $55 on average.
Right, which is why I think $595 is very reasonable.
Right, so going to $100 gives us,
Can we just make it mess around 600?
sure, I mean, 600, fine with me. You know, that gives you the opportunity to pay your bills, to set money aside, and grow. I think you get those three things by increasing to $100. And at 3%, you know, hey, you know, that gives you a chance to increase it each and every year as needed, because you figure, and let's just say that the number is $600, just to kind of give you an idea. And if the following year, whatever year that is, and you went 3%, that'd be $18 times 389. That gives you an extra $7,000. So
Yeah.
that's a fairly significant increase for 3%.
Are we talking about fixing it at 3% or letting it, or having a cap be 3%?
No, the idea
Go up
is that
3% every year, or?
you know you can. It's an option.
So it's an option.
You can increase up to
Yeah, yeah,
3%
I like that.
over and above whatever your annual maintenance fee is.
So let me play devil's advocate. Why, if, you know, say it's for, what's to stop you from just increasing 3% every year?
Oh, there's nothing.
But we might not.
It's the people that you elect, right? Absolutely, it's the people that you elect, right? We don't have to pay $495. We can go. I think it says no. I think our fee is stated at $475, with $495 being the cap, and we've just been paying $495 for so long. We've just chosen to do that. And but you'll notice every year we've had to go back to the people and say, you know, we need an extra X dollar from you to balance the budget.
We could always go down. I don't think there's a problem with going down.
No, you can't. No, if your bylaws say X dollar, you got to adhere to that X dollar. I mean, yes, you could revise those and bring it back down. You could do that. But no, you're absolutely correct. There is nothing that prevents you from, you know, future boards from raising it 3% each and every year. Absolutely.
I mean, it's whatever, yeah, whatever, okay.
But it has to go up for the vote.
You know,
Well, and I'm not totally.
and the only way to prevent that, Bob, is to put a cap on it at a dollar amount.
And I don't think we need.
Now, if we do that, your cap, I think, has to be $850, $895.
We just run into that in another
20 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
But the whole what I'm not clear on is when you say we were able to raise it 3% each year. If next year we do $595, let's say 600 would be easier. And the next year we do 600 again, 2 years down the line, can we raise it 3% twice or just 3% the year before?
3% that year. So if you go from, you know, if you go from
600
to 618, and then the following year you go from 618 plus whatever that 3% is.
So 3% of what has already been charged the year.
Okay.
Oh,
So meaning 2013 you could do 618 and 2014 you could do 618 plus 3%. But say 2013 you actually, or 14 you went down, then the next year you can't go as high as.
You can't bounce it back.
Right, yeah.
That was of the previous
Right.
year.
The previous year.
I just think,
So what
Need to be clear, that's all.
Well-
Yeah, I just,
Oh,
and that's what I was asking, because I wanted
Well,
to.
there's a law
So
in
here,
it.
you know, ultimately, this would all have to be,
Legalized.
you know, written up in something that can be, put it, and that people can sign as an amendment to the covenants.
Right.
You know, so Mark will write it up and whatever, and we'll say, yeah, you know, 603%, we'll make it all.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine, I think that makes sense, I just needed to make sure I understood what was being
No,
said.
it can't,
No.
every year there's a vote, shall we raise it 3% or not?
No.
No, it'll be our decision.
No, no,
It would be the
Really?
board's,
That's not
it would be the board's
It would be the
discretion.
board's
The
decision.
board discretion.
Board discretion.
Okay.
So,
But the maximum will be 3% a year every year.
I think
If
that-
we needed more than that, then that's when it would have to go back to a vote.
right, you know, I think 5% people kind of shaking their boots, 3%'s pretty reasonable. 4% would be an odd number. I don't know that I've ever been in a place I've heard, you know, I've seen 3% in a variety of places, right? 4% is kind of an odd number.
Actually,
So-
cost of living index would be awesome, but
The cost of living index is
right
probably
now
not
it's
enough.
pretty low.
Right.
I just
So,
remember 4% was a raise I got when I was
1.6%, baby. I was pleased to get that.
That's where it's the wrong company.
No, we had
You need-
two was median, one that you should be looking for on the
You
job.
need to be a hedge fund manager making $2 billion.
Absolutely. I tell you, those hedge fund people, they pay their IT people.
Oh, I'm sure they
Bet
did.
Oh
they
my
do.
God.
There is no downtime.
If I went back to New York,
What you do?
I could like double my salary.
There is no downtime.
For
Cost of
sure.
living would be
Downtime,
twice
The
too.
company could vaporize in a minute.
Yeah, that 6 months, that ain't good enough. Yeah, there ain't no Six Sigma in that deal, no. We need a whole lot of Sigma, yeah. Right.
So back to the town hall, you know, so this is kind of, you know, our idea, $600, 3%, whatever, but we need to organize a meeting in such a way that, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the, you know, us saying, based on our experience as a board, this is what we're recommending, but we need to, do the same thing like we did before the annual meeting last year, to get people to agree and contribute to that answer so that they feel like, it's not something that we just said, this is what we're gonna do, and we want you to help us get the support. You know?
I
We
I can imagine that if we say 600 sounds like a good number for next year, somebody's gonna say, well, that's a lot more than I expected. You're only supposed to go up, you know, this much at a time. How about 550? Then it'll become a big one.
Well, listen, $50 doesn't get you anything. It keeps you at status quo.
All
The
it
only
is-
thing that it possibly gets you
Less
is that
special assessment.
if you get that 3% in there.
So there will be those discussions, and Todd will redirect them back.
Well, he won't be there.
That is a problem.
I mean, the best I could get here would be 8 o'clock. It's the best I could get here.
What? I mean,
And
I don't
so-
know who else has heard of who's gonna show up.
I would say, let's move it from Monday, May 7th. That
Yeah.
would be our standard board meeting day.
Yeah, I said we moved it to.
We have
Unless
the ability to change the meeting.
you want.
Yeah, we can do that.
Make a big
I
deal
think
about
that's
this
what we
meeting.
have to, at least we have, well, we did put in the newsletter,
But
we
that's-
can fix that with an email blast.
We could do that, but.
We'll pack the room
Do what?
whatever we like.
But that doesn't get people to vote for it when it actually comes out, so.
Well, it's not, that's not on the ballot.
Well, but the
This
whole
has-
point
no,
of
so
town hall is
here's-
to get by.
Right, but just so you understand, how this works is, I don't know if you've looked at your,
What's
No,
up?
she's barefoot.
Wearing heels all day. Why am I supposed to move the dog? I can't even understand the text.
Oh, she needs her heart rate.
And you said a snack?
Well, she can't eat it on an empty stomach.
Oh.
Wrap it in a piece of ham.
Dog will be fine. Dog
I
will
thought
be
you meant like you only fed her half her dinner or
I'll
something.
be right back. I gave her rice. She just needs her heart rate medicine.
No, yeah, you're right,
She
it's
just
correct
couldn't
about,
eat it on
you
here.
know, kind of supporting data for it, people behind it. And, you know, what is my best hope is that people say, okay, people understand $50 is not enough. people were scared to make it to 100, and they said, okay, let's do 75, right? I think that's the reality of it. The good news is that as long as we can get that automated 3%, and like I said, removing the cap, that protects the interest of the neighborhood. It's not about me, it's not about us, it's about
Especially
the
if we
interest.
put, but only if we put that extra buffer on top first.
Yes.
So right now, if we just
495 plus
did
3% does not get you enough.
Yeah, because we're already behind on the
Way
495.
Right, we're $55 behind.
What's the highest we've done special assessment? With the
Well,
$495?
$75 to balance the books.
That's what I was talking about.
The outside of that, we did $285 for the pools.
That was specific.
But that was
That was
not,
specific,
yeah,
right.
that was not the budget gap thing.
That's correct. The budget gap, I think the most we've ever done is 75.
And that was,
Now we went
past
with
last,
Brad.
we actually brought that down last year
Right.
because we saved
I think
some money on.
that was Brad
cash
that-
and stuff.
That had us do the 75.
Okay, so it's been as high as 75 in recent memory, so we should do at least that much. Now that gets you to 570, that's quite reasonable. And then 3%, as long as we lock in at 3%, I think we can survive that.
Yeah, I think the neighborhood could.
So I'd be willing to propose 600 because that makes sense to me, I like round numbers. And somebody else is gonna tweak and say, well, what's the minimum we get by with? You know, and I can say, we pay 50 every year at 75, but in my memory, so I just go with
I mean, 600 is clearly, it's $50 a month. I mean, that's
Easy to
an
think
easy
about.
number, it's $50 a month.
easy to think about.
You know, there's no question about that.
I mean, as it is, people paid 580 this year.
Go did that.
Well, with the assessment.
Oh, yeah.
You paid 580, I paid
Yeah,
580.
yeah. I mean, I think 600 is I think that is a good number, and I think that does three things. It allows us to pay all our bills, it allows us to save some money, and it allows us to spend money and grow the neighborhood.
But I'm willing to stand up and say as an engineering, scientific, rational mind, I think 600 is a reasonable number to start from because obviously that's what's gonna get us out of this pit we've been standing in.
Well, eventually the neighborhood.
Guys, we don't need to debate whether it should be 75 or 100.
No, I'm saying
No,
I'm willing to
600 or-
propose it.
Okay, so but, you know, really, the question is, you know, what's the right answer? Because ultimately, that's what that is. You know, what we really need to work on is just how do we organize that meeting? What background do we want to present before we, you know, so that when we open the floor for everything, it's got the right spin and we get an outcome that actually helps the neighborhood.
My plan is, I don't know if I have it here, it's on here at home. But it's to simply just give you a very simple graphical representation of over the last 7 years.
Have that data?
Yeah, yeah, because Jessica sent me all that data and I put it together for our annual meeting when I talked about that. And I think I must have that on my.
So today,
No.
Here we go.
One thing that's,
I do have it here, annual meeting.
no, I just thought maybe we were still talking about next Monday.
well, when Will had to step out, I was gonna say, it's not like a vote like we do at the annual meeting, Will. This thing is, you're amending the covenants. It actually requires like signatures from
Certain percentage of
a
every.
certain percentage, or
Each section.
it's a majority.
Is it just a majority?
Well,
It's
Laura,
a
it's
majority.
still a vote to where, okay.
Yeah, but
It's still,
it's
we have to
not a
send
vote.
letters to people's houses.
We have to send letters, and then if they don't sign, then we have to go to their house and say, we really need you to support this, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. It's, you know, it's gonna be awful. But first, we have to have something that we can demonstrate.
And I don't think my mom can tell me this.
Well, we're not ready.
Well, we have to introduce the topic at some point. It
Well, I
doesn't-
understand that.
It
The
doesn't
problem is
stop-
And the community has told us they want us to introduce this topic.
But we should be prepared as opposed to kind of have
Well, if,
winging it.
sounds like we kind of need to be there with his.
Well, okay, so
For
in,
Mike to be here too, probably.
Yes.
okay, so looking at this,
You might have some ideas or thoughts.
in 2009, it was voted on for 2010, it was $135.
What was the budget cap?
The increase.
So it's 495 plus 135 just for a budget gap?
That was for 2010.
That must have been.
So that was Dick and Morella and Culpepper and stuff?
600.
No, that would have been about 2000, that would have been back in 2008, I believe. I didn't have those numbers. But Jessica has them. And,
It would be great to see that detail.
it's on this one. It's not on this one.
Let me just say, this. If we're gonna do it next Monday, we need to meet.
I can't believe it. That's why.
I mean, I would prefer not to meet before next Monday also. I'm just saying, if we go that route.
I'll go back to
We
Jessica.
need just to get organized.
I'll go back to Jessica and get
Which
those.
makes me think that we actually have to do
Here's the
that.
thing, okay? So, just think about this, this is April. We gotta get the pools open, we gotta get ready for that. It's gonna be a very busy month. So,
My
and, you know,
weekends are so full.
by first week in May or whatever you guys, saying you wanna have this, we're still gonna be all busy, are we gonna be ready? Can we?
Yeah, we can be ready. We can be ready.
Now, I bet if you didn't have that ball game, you could pull it off. If you remember tonight, and you didn't have the ball game, you could put it up.
Easter's this weekend.
If I hadn't, right, I had not planned on managing Jackson's baseball team this year.
Or Passover, what do you want to do? We're
There's
doing Passover
never-
Friday and then Easter Sunday, so.
Yeah.
I'm singing a Seder on Thursday. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean,
But
This is Monday, that.
it's
my only point is this is a very holy weekend.
it's an easy.
Passover and Easter are falling, it's just.
I mean, all we're doing is throwing out.
Worlds are colliding.
The town hall is as simple as, we're throwing out, this is what the neighborhood needs, this is why the neighborhood needs it, this is the supporting evidence. You, Mr. Resident, we need your support. So number one, you have some number you think you're comfortable with. Number two, go out and sing that song.
So, what's the point of the town hall meeting? Is it just to
We
get?
gotta counter their support,
It's
because like Bob
pep
said,
rally for raising the cap?
it's like Bob said, you gotta have, 3/4,
Exactly what it is,
or
half
half.
of each
section.
section.
Yeah, that's it.
But it is a pep rally.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Something to create
Okay.
awareness and enthusiasm and to get people talking about it, and while it's on everybody's mind again. Because, we were there with the annual meeting of the town hall that led up, that everybody was saying that. This should be the focus for next
Yep.
year, so here we are.
Let's do it.
Let's rekindle that fire, get the awareness going,
Okay.
and
That means that we need to get the women's club to send it around, we need to get the
No.
garden club to send it around.
We need to be the only people sending it around. We're the only, if they choose to send it
Well,
around, that's fine. We don't need to go and ask those people to send it around. We need to ask them to talk about it
Yes.
amongst themselves. Yes, and discuss it, but I don't, and if they wanna forward it to the people that they don't see on the front of the list, that's fine. They're more than welcome to do that, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't need to go to those people and ask them to do that, because we will do that
No, but
ourselves.
the town hall will tell them this needs to.
I think it'll play out in the same way. I mean, if somebody like Shirley is interested
There are people.
leading the charge, she'll do it,
Don't-
whether she hears about it or whether we go.
That's something worth talking about, is there are, and
Champions.
there are.
There'll be a certain amount of people that just say we're against it because we don't want you guys to
and
be
we know who
people.
they are, that are against doing anything that'll raise the assessment.
That'll cost more money. But that same percentage of people are okay supporting a fee each and every year for a short period of time.
Well, but for
To
very specific things that are
right,
not
correct.
geared towards,
Long-term longevity of the neighborhood.
or the greater interest of,
Right.
the neighborhood at large, all the other folks.
Right.
I mean, it's what it is.
Right, and at some point, this is what we'll drive home, at some point, our neighborhood will run out of money, because we can't continue to ask for X dollars
Not
each every
just
year.
money, we'll be unable to maintain what we have.
That's correct, that's
We
what,
will fall out of the Class B neighborhood, into the Class C neighborhood, into the Class D neighborhood.
absolutely.
And we don't wanna do that.
No, absolutely not.
Well, some people may want to.
They can leave and
Well, yeah,
move to
they
the Class
they
C
can move to
neighborhood.
an apartment crest.
I'm just saying,
apartment
it's
complex
their-
at
it's their
Hillcrest
vote.
and Mary Ashford.
My only point is they can
Some
think
nice
whatever they
places out
want.
there.
So, all right.
I
so-
don't think most people
so
think
we'll,
that way, but they could.
I'll email you out something tomorrow about the revision of the town hall meeting. And,
Oh.
and it's, you know, and everybody will,
Probably needs to get a blast out right
everybody
away.
will understand that.
Last thing I got, Michelle is removing herself from any involvement in the light program.
That's fine, no problem.
Yeah, she said that Colette can do that.
Understood.
Um,
Point made.
People who care the most should definitely have.
So,
this.
I just had to throw that out, so there would be no follow-up later,
Got it.
like what's going
Piece of
on.
cake.
Yeah.
Piece of cake.
So,
Piece of cake. All right, so if there's no other business,
Okay, so, I blew it on the access control system. Right?
you know, so, I mean, we have several options available to us.
We do. So the options are basically, the do-it-yourself solution, is gonna be basically 500 a door. I haven't called Able Lock yet, but I'm guessing that they would probably be about twice as much. This is 500 a door is just the materials.
All right,
And then, make it help me or do it on my side or whatever. Okay, so what we're doing is.
so let me ask Jason if he's got a guy that, I mean, he is in the security business,
Oh, sure.
he does doors and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
Let me ask him if he's got a guy
What we
that,
want is a hid edge solo system.
okay. Hid to edge.
HID is HID,
Right.
written on the cards. And then what the edge solo is basically a little, it's a little module. It's a single door access controller. You can get it with a reader built in or the reader, remote. And you sort of do it with a web browser and program in your cards and do everything right on the web. The thing just plugs right in your
Is this for
Wi-Fi.
pool cards?
Just for pool cards, for the two gates and for this door. So this is the other thing, all right? Opening up the clubhouse. You wanna just open it up to anybody that has a pool card. We wanna make like a club dorm thing where in order to get access, they need to, maybe help with the cleanup and take some responsibility or additional, membership fee or any stuff like that.
We want everybody to be able to enjoy the facilities. There's no question about that, because everybody does pay for the facilities. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, look, hey, as part of the administrative cost and being able to do this, we need to charge X dollar fee to be able to administer your access, right? Because we gotta buy locks, we gotta buy the keys, we gotta buy the website, there's certain
Well,
administrative
not
costs.
only that, I
associated
mean, we
with that,
gotta,
right?
if we're opening this up, we're gonna have regular cleaning.
That's right, that's what
You
we're
know,
having
there's
to
gonna be
clean.
wear and tear.
Cleaning's gonna cost you, cleaning's gonna cost you $75 a week if you have somebody come and do it every week. You could do it a little more, but $75 is your number right there. I mean, when I send Maria over here once a month to clean it, we just pay her $100 to do it. Because it's once a month and they're here, doing that type of thing. So, yeah, I mean, if there's a way to avoid charging people, absolutely. And so, the question becomes is, all right, so I get my card for $20 and I can come and use the clubhouse Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or 7 days a week. We haven't really kind of decided that.
Wait a minute, are you saying we don't have to reserve it anymore?
No, this
No.
isn't for a private party, this is for if I wanna come here and play ping pong.
For during your summer hours.
Or hang out and watch TV on the projector.
Because obviously our electricity costs will, and that's the thing, we're gonna have to monitor most of someone who comes down and cranks it down to 65.
and then leaves.
Yeah, we would have to put in a lockdown thermostat that would automatically.
Well, it reverts back to something after an hour.
You know.
It's the best thing.
Right, and so, you can't run this room at 75 degrees during the summer with 10 or 12 people in here, because it won't be cool enough. I mean, at least I don't think it will, because,
If you get it ahead of time, it will, but not if you walk
no,
in.
because
all of it.
those windows right there, they need to be replaced, because there's just too much heat gain coming through those windows in the late
Is that
afternoon.
a single pane jump?
It's just,
That.
you're not losing really a lot of heat in that window there, because there's so much shade, take care of that. But the afternoon sun is what kills you right there on those, a little bit.
Just put some boards in there.
You want it to be a nice environment.
That's be as nice as possible. This should be a place where people can come in.
I'm
Right.
trying to have a movie
Like
night.
a rec center. Well, sure, you're doing your thing, and like, so, Laura's having some Sierra Club thing here in April. I told her, if it's open to the neighborhood, it's free. And that's what I tell.
No, that's what we tell everybody.
Yeah, absolutely,
We tell everybody.
But the thing is, doesn't that having let people just walk in anytime interfere with that?
Well, obviously, if you
Yeah, it does, and so if you're having your Sierra Club meeting here.
I don't want people playing ping pong with that.
no, it would be reserved. It would be for you. It would be for you and your group only.
Right, but if that group is that, and you are reserved, okay, but if your event is open to anyone who's interested in coming to that.
To the event specifically,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's fine.
No, people shouldn't be coming in here and playing ping
Thank
pong. Right, because it's reserved, but because it's open reserved event, not a private party, it's like, oh, I want my friends coming,
Right, and that's going to require us to try to go to some sort of online reservation system, or, because we can't always be emailing you telling you to update the community calendar.
Well, we can give everybody access to that calendar.
To look at
It's
it.
a Google calendar.
No, I'm with you, but I'm saying that's what we have to do is, you're going to have to take some responsibility and, and what's going to happen is that somebody's going to not look at the calendar, show up in a big group and have two conflicting groups. They have to work it out on their own.
Well, yeah.
They can't, that's the risk that you have.
I'm actually more worried about somebody who has some 15-year-old and his 4 friends come over here to hang out because they're driving along previous seasons of the clubhouse. They come in here and I'm having, my garden club meeting or something, and they decide that because they've got a key, they can be in here all they want.
Right, but if you'll call 281-493-6666, or 466.
Or if you're not having a party here and they go over here and they realize mom's not here, we can drink all the beer we want.
Well, that's actually true. If we open up the clubhouse.
And that's
we're
gonna, all sorts of liability.
No, there's certain liabilities that
We need to keep the refrigerator,
alcohol free.
alcohol.
G-rated.
G-rated refrigerator. First of all, because it would all disappear anyway, but, so.
I mean, there's certainly some things to think
No, I mean,
about.
they'll have to be some rules,
And, it's clearly been on our system, people take care of what is yours.
But again, is it something we want to open up to all full members? Is it part of your full membership, or is it something on top of that?
No, it's part of your full membership. It's part of your full membership, but you don't tax them again.
Okay, here's the problem. You get people coming in here just to use the pool, and they're gonna put something in here to use the restrooms instead of using those, which are nicer. And you're gonna have some just sloppy, wet nastiness. Carpets are gonna
Goes back to
sour.
what Bob was saying, is that, you gotta have cleaning crew, you're gonna have cleaning crew come through once a week.
And also a good idea to have a camera inside here as well.
Next thing you got water in your printer, because somebody dripped on their way past the
We can seal that, we can seal that bathroom off, we can seal that whole corridor off, that's easy.
We were talking about that.
Right, and I mean, you just put a simple lock on that door and you're done with it, and because when people say, oh, there's only one bathroom in there,
It's a lot less
You know,
appealing.
Have you seen the shower?
I heard you talking about that.
I don't think you're having a problem with people coming from here to go use the bathroom there, I don't think that's a good problem at all.
If you're coming right out of the pool, that's the way to walk in here and freeze your butt off. Just
If
get
it's
out
air
the water.
I don't see that as a problem at all.
Your results.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so,
Well, and they still need their key card to open the door, so.
right, and mean, here's the thing, is that if it goes south, let's just say it goes south, it doesn't work out. We shut it down.
Or
And
I mean, the other thing.
And if we need to refund some money, we'll refund some money, we'll cross that bridge when we
Change
get to
the
it.
card so that you have to have an additional.
But that's the whole thing about it, is being accessible via the internet, is you can shut it down at any time.
Exactly, you can lock somebody out, so you can say,
Can you lock them in?
So, we'll have to add some
Fire
rules,
hazard.
right up, and we'll try to add that to our little membership contract thing that they sign.
I'm just
but-
thinking, he had a really good point, you don't know that you wanna let anybody in here, maybe only adults, maybe adult supervised vision, they have to let the kids in here.
If
These
you're,
are all rules that we can make, it's the adult who gets the key card.
yeah, our sign says you have to be a minimum age to be able to swim alone.
Okay.
It's what, 14, 13 or 14 swim alone, so
Okay, that's.
kind of the same rule
And we
applies
can
here.
tell who was in here last, right? By the
We will
records,
never-
it's
You
white
can see
records.
every time somebody flips a card.
And
It's
plus,
a law.
we'll have it on video, and so clearly if there's damage done, we'll run the video back, and we'll
Okay, that's great then.
We'll contact that homeowner
Accountability.
accordingly, and the homeowner will either A, work with this correct situation, or B, will prosecute.
I don't know.
Lose their card, whatever.
But I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I
Okay,
don't
if
think
there's
it's a problem.
accountability involved.
Absolutely, because this is about, it's about people being able to enjoy what they have.
So, I gotta get an estimate from Able, see if they'll do the HLO thing for us.
I mean, you think Abel's reliable?
I don't know, I'll know when, well, let's see if he can come here and at least give us an estimate, Last time I was here with them, the last time they fixed that mechanical marble out there for $500.
Yeah.
The guy said, finish this thing and get a system. Now, at the time, I didn't know anything about them. And they said, something you just update your PC or whatever. I want something that requires a dedicated PC, I want something you can get to over the web.
Right, absolutely.
Everybody can get to it, it's not like owned by, one
Right.
techno guru or whatever.
Right.
So that's why I like this. The one I bought before, which was even cheaper, was the same idea, it's like a kind of standalone cloud-based thing, but, it wouldn't do those parts.
Gotcha.
It's like a different system. Cool. Hidden cards are more expensive. Commercial grade. So, I guess what I was looking for is, so I'll get some estimates together.
I think, $20 to be able to utilize the clubhouse only, because we're only talking about Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, is what we originally talked about during the summer. But we might be willing to grow that, in a sense, more on, 7 days a week, we're not necessarily reasonable, how much traffic we get through.
It's a little collective, that's for that.
Well, maybe someday like this.
But here's the thing, that's the thing is that, if we do, we get the screen installed, the projector installed, TV installed, whatever, all that stuff, that will bring people, there's no doubt
Although
about
I would love to have a
that.
TV.
See, here's the thing,
Well,
is
yeah,
that,
I'm working to get a fan in.
Right.
I want to get the projector up in the ceiling. I want to get the screen in the ceiling, so it's just pulled down, and we don't have to pull out that big tripod.
so realistically, do we think we would get, at $20 a head, do we think we'd get, and think about this, and this is a horrible thing to say, think about how many people are gonna cross Eldridge to come and use the facility.
They should cross Eldridge just to come and use our pool.
Hang on.
Many people do.
No, I understand.
I am
We
not
do.
going to cross Eldridge to use the pool. I
Oh.
will cross Eldridge to use the clubhouse because there's no other facility that I can get like this.
No, understood, absolutely. If there are advantages to it, not just for neighborhood use, but for your own personal use, that type of thing as well.
They put out a thing, we can have a screening of this movie, call all your friends to come see this movie. It's a publicity, political thing, and I was like, hey, I can use my clubhouse.
Right, correct. So, if we get 50 people to sign up,
Now, are
you
you
know,
talking about
that's $1,000 to
instead
help offset.
of the
Well,
pool card?
Well, no, you'd have, I think you're gonna have a
There's
percentage
two
of
ways you can
people.
play it though. So you could have it like it's an extra $20 on top of your pool membership. Or you can say it's included in the pool membership and maybe actually we'll get some pool memberships we wouldn't have gotten otherwise because there are people who would rather play ping pong than swim.
Absolutely, I'm there.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
So don't tell me I have to buy a pool card to use the
No,
clubhouse for an extra fee.
No,
Tell me
just-
it's one
just-
pass
it's
card,
part-
not-
It's part of your membership.
Now, if you pay $80, this is what you get. If you pay,
And
Access
that
to all
also
this
gives us something to say, this
This
is
will
why
be-
I went from 70 to 80,
I like
we've
that.
opened up the
I
clubhouse.
like that.
because our electric bill is gonna go up more than $1,000 over the course of the summer
Because
at
people
this
use
facility.
the clubhouse.
Well, let's see how long.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go up that much more than $1,000, but it is
Oh,
gonna
you know
go up.
what I discovered? This is cool. You know that Centerpoint went around putting meters everywhere?
Mhm.
Did you know there's a website you can go to and see a graph of your home
Yeah.
electric usage down to 15-minute intervals? History going back to the beginning and say, put those meters in.
Well, we need that,
Not even
because,
here, but okay.
I mean, that was one of the things I talked to, Great Use of Pool Management about. I said, y'all gotta come up with some sort of timings, that you gotta come up with a way to help us manage our electricity better on our pool pumps.
Well, we have a timer on here, that need to set it. I don't know if that's still shutting it off, something must be. So I did this for my house, and we could do this for all the Thornwood power meters, and you bring up these graphs, it's free. Or you can
Well,
export
it's
the
just
data.
fun, but what is it for?
You
It's
can
knowledge
see
to help you
You can
manage
see
it.
you when you're using electricity. I mean, it's actually quite interesting. The graph for my house looks like this.
And you
Right.
can set timers on everything if you want.
Midnight, noon, midnight, right? So, at night, we're using about 0.2 kilowatt hours, okay? Then, during the morning, for some reason, it's very spiky. I think this is when Cecilia's, running all the things, cleaning the house, or whatever she's doing. But when it's not spiky, it's sitting around 0.4 the whole time, all
Yeah.
day long.
But your air
Until we
conditioner won't
finally
go
go
full.
back to bed, and then it's down to 0.2. I think it's just like
No, it's
extra lights that you turn on around the house when
It's
you're.
amazing. People think lights and fans don't take up money, electricity, but they do.
Comparison.
It also helps when you unplug things that you're not using.
Right, because see, your DVRs are never turned off.
What do they call
Right,
it?
but that's like
Fan
0.2 watts or
Right.
something.
But if you've got 4 or 5 of
Well, or, 100 of them,
Yeah.
or,
I
all the
think
other
them, and you know,
and cell phone chargers
and
and
your
stuff.
LCD TVs never really truly turn off either.
My computer's.
They continue to
turned
draw.
off.
But it's.
Yeah.
Well, my point is like, unplug the boombox.
The
Oh,
boombox-
granted, that's probably
but-
not really.
But the boombox, that's not drawing electricity.
Anything
Even when that
over-
printer goes into sleep mode, it still draws minimal
I was just trying to
electricity.
think of, look,
Right,
see
right.
something.
Anything that has remote control, anything that goes to sleep but doesn't
Right.
actually turn on.
It does not physically turn off, that's correct. The only way you're gonna turn off your LCDs and plasma TVs is you have to unplug them. So that works.
So, anyway, so that's, you get some insights looking at this.
Sure.
And, maybe mine would look different than yours, it would probably look a lot different than one of these pools, or, the meter that runs the lights and sprinkler system at the monuments or whatever. So I'd probably reach out to Jessica and try and, I need to get there's some code number on the bill that you need to get access to that. Try and put that up on the website for people looking at. Okay, so. Camera.
We're good. Happy. Things will start happening quickly in the neighborhood. It'll be a busy month for us.
Yeah.
All political signs.
Pools
are going up.
open May 6th.
Early voting starts May 14th.
What? We're on camera. So if we're done,
May
anything
1st.
else?
No.
We'll adjourn the meeting.
Oh, yeah, I got you. So we're doing
I think the lady runners from March to May, and, yeah,
Run the restroom real quick. And
I'm into that.
there's one
Yeah,
executive
no, I
item
know.
I want to
I
toss
just-
out to y'all.
Scared.
I pretty much just wrote November this year, and that's it.
Now, there's an awful lot of positions where it matters
who you have running against the other side. You want the best candidate running against the other side, so that's what the primaries are all about.
In Texas, is it one of the states you're allowed to vote for either side regardless?
You can only vote in one primary.
But you don't, but
But it
regardless
doesn't
if,
matter.
yeah,